Okay, today's agenda, we're having a welcome. We have some special guests for opening remarks. We will go over what are global virtual internships. Then we'll have our student presentations and panel. We'll also have a section on what the future holds. Some of you may be wondering, when can I go and travel again? When can I travel and go abroad? For study abroad or an internship abroad. We'll discuss that. And then we'll do recognitions and closing remarks. The SMCCCD team behind all of this, you all know me, I've done my introduction. We also have our Dean of Global Learning Programs and Services, Dean Russell Walden, with us today. We're thankful and grateful for his leadership. We have Professor Lavinia Zanassi is a counselor for career services with us today, and Lavinia has been instrumental from the start of this program before we were virtual, when we were having in-person internships in 2017. We started all our internship programs abroad. And finally, we have Stephanie Wells with us, who really needs no introduction. A lot of the students know her. She is the person behind the scenes, managing everything for today's event, and meets with all our students one-on-one for advising on study abroad and scholarships for studying abroad. So welcome, Stephanie. Next slide, please. A quick background of SMCCCD Global Internships. We started this with an idea in 2017. It was a President's Innovation Fund. We received some funding to send students abroad on internships. And then what happened last year in 2020, the pandemic hit, so we had to get innovative, and that is how Global Virtual Internships was born. And we plan on keeping virtual internships. So even once we resume in-person study abroad, which is hopefully for next year, for students who are wondering about that, virtual internships will continue. Next slide, please. So these are the locations for the virtual internships that we've had with our partner organization, the Global Career Center, GCC. So there's Australia, Canada, England, India, Japan, 2 cities in the US, New York and San Francisco, and South Africa. And in the past, with our study abroad provider, the American Institute for Foreign Study, AIFS, we hosted virtual internships in Costa Rica and Italy. All right, now I will pass the baton to our Dean of Global Learning Programs and Services, Russell Walden, to give some welcome remarks and introduce our president of Skyline College for her welcome remarks. Russell?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Great. Yes, I am the Dean of Global Learning here at Skyline, and I'm very pleased to be here for a couple of reasons. Not only am I proud of the study abroad team, Zed, Stephanie, and the broad faculty support across the district that this program has experienced, but this particular program is an example of what happens when faced with a very adverse circumstance, a worldwide pandemic. Educators and staff come together, they collaborate and they persevere, they refuse to be stopped in making sure that educational opportunities are still provided to our students. I'm also proud of the courage and determination of our students, who also during this time said that they were not going to let a global pandemic get in the way of them pursuing an opportunity in education and international education. I cannot express to you fully in words how important I believe a globalized educational experience is. For me personally, it allowed me to engage people who did not think the way that I did, who did not have the same national home country experience that I did, and who had perspectives that were completely different from any that I'd ever known. And for me to grow personally, I learned from that experience. It changed my life. And it did not mean that I necessarily agreed with the different perspectives that I saw when I was abroad, but it did mean that I grew as a person. And I think that you'll see a lot of that today. As I said, this district-wide program has received so much support, not only here at Skyline, for example, from our VPI of Instruction, Danny Redding-Lapuz, our president, Dr. Moreno, my fellow deans, but from across the district. And I also want to mention some faculty who are routinely and have been in the trenches with us. Lavinia Zanassi. Lavinia, without whose engagement in this virtual program, I don't know what we would have done. She has always been there with us even before this virtual program. And she has been so critical to the success of this program. I do want to give a shout out also to Danielle Powell, who is always promoting study abroad in addition to some of the other things that she's involved in on campus. And I think I'm actually going to get one of those metal things that that you put on a car, that you that you put on the doors of the cars, like you see the pizza delivery and say, you know, honk twice and follow me if you're interested in study abroad. I'm going to put one of those on Danielle's car. Sonia Pope, our division assistant, who has been invaluable to providing administrative support to the program. And again, our faculty across the district who teach in the program. So I want to mention very quickly also our ISP team, Chicago Walker, Claire Yalsogaiski, and Michelle Amaral, and they will be working on some joint projects that are coming down the pike this year with Study Abroad. So I want to tell you to be sure to stay tuned for that. Now, I'm sure I forgot to mention somebody, so I'll apologize for that, but me forgetting you is more of a testament of my tired brain cells as opposed to a lack of appreciation of your contributions to this program. So with that, I have the privilege of introducing our college president, Dr. Melissa Moreno. I'll share with you that I had a little bit of concern as we were going through the process of searching for a new president over a year ago. We had enjoyed so much support from our past leadership. But when they announced that Dr. Moreno would be coming to Skyline, I was very excited. You see, in addition to being a highly accomplished educator, she's a lawyer, she has a background in business, the list just goes on. But she also came to us from Santa Barbara City College. Now, for those of you that don't know this, Santa Barbara City College is considered a leader in international education in the state of California. So I knew that if she was coming from Santa Barbara City College, that she was quite familiar with international education. And that was absolutely confirmed at the first one-on-one meeting that I had with Dr. Moreno. And as I was going through what we did in my office, she did not miss a step. She knew exactly what we did. She knew exactly how the process worked. And any anxiety I had about potential support for our program just went away. So before Zed takes away my microphone, because he did mention that we're on a tight schedule here, I'd like to welcome Dr. Melissa Moreno, the not new anymore president of Skyline College. Dr. Moreno.
Thank you so much, Dean Walden. And, you know, the difference here from where I came from is that we're a multi-college district. So there's even greater support than you can imagine when you have a district that is well-resourced. And so I'm just so proud to be here and to have started my second year as Skyline College president. And I'm so proud of our team in the global arena across the district, but especially the work that's done hosting the district efforts at Skyline. So I want to thank everybody who is involved in helping our students. And, you know, I just want to say a couple of words, and then I'm looking forward to hearing our students. I'm going to stay as long as I can to hear from our students. But I guess I want to start with this concept of if you do nothing, then nothing happens. And so taking that step just to discover what might be possible is a step in the right direction. And so I encourage everybody to explore the possibility of travel internationally when this opens back up. But to have a virtual opportunity is just such a creative and wonderful idea. And, I have been very involved in setting up internship programs. And so I just want to share with you a couple of thoughts about internship. And then, the added, first of all, traveling changes your life. And to travel and be able to experience an international workplace or business is like next level. And how important that can be in your life and in your future. So I just think a virtual internship opportunity globally is a fabulous opportunity. And so I think about internships in general and how they benefit students because you're able to apply your education to an actual career experience, and you improve your ability to transfer to a four-year institution or to a job because you're gaining a competitive edge with this work. And also you're starting a network, a global network, which you may not understand the importance of as a student, but eventually when you enter the workforce, your network is so important. And other benefits are like developing employability skills, and maybe you call them something different, but it's the stuff that you don't learn about, technical aspects of the work, but you learn things like critical thinking and solving problems. You learn how to get along with others and understanding what professionalism is or how a workplace functions. And a couple of other things that I think are so important about internships in general is getting feedback, perhaps for the first time. It might be your first workplace experience. And so then you begin to learn more about yourself and what you like and what you do not like. And then the global aspect layered on top of this is learning potentially another language or gaining a desire to learn another language, understanding culture and customs and workplace practices that are so different from what you might experience in the US, and just that sort of cultural fluency that you start to experience. And then, I have some statistics because I think they're important, but if you're a US graduate and you complete more than 3 internships, you're more likely to secure a full-time job. 81% of graduates say that working as an intern has helped them significantly improve their career prospects. So that's the competitive edge. And completing an internship is associated with a higher salary. So I can't emphasize enough the importance of the practical work experience. And I'm just so proud of those that take that step just to discover what might be possible, because I'll go back to, if you do nothing, then nothing happens. So with that, I'll turn it back. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Marino and Dean Russell Walden, for your welcome remarks. We are a little almost on time, so I'm going to introduce our next presenters, which is the Global Career Center. That is Dr. Kate Moore. And this is one of our partners who makes our global virtual internships happen. So Dr. Kate Moore is the principal and co-founder of the Global Career Center, and she will briefly go over what they do and how they have connected our students to these opportunities.
Great, thank you so much. And I am thrilled to be here. I'll give a little bit of context around our organization and then give a bit of context from the regarding the employers that have welcomed students this summer and in the past, and what we're expecting to see for the future world of work. So quick context around the Global Career Center, or GCC, is on your screen, but I want to highlight two things. Our organization loves this work. We know it's hard work for the students, our partners on campus, and also for our employers, but we do love this work. And part of that reason is that exactly what can be gained from global internship experiences. We've been at it for 2 decades, and I wanted to highlight those that were in the good partnership of the Skyline County Community College District. Over the summer, in addition to students from this campus, we had students from UC Berkeley, University of Alberta, University of Melbourne, Boston University, Emory University in Atlanta, Roehampton University in the UK, and the NMIMS Management School in India. Now, some of your students here may have bumped into those others at events or activities, or even in the resource center. But I think it's worth noting that reach, but also worth highlighting how very special and innovative this program is. I've already shared with my colleagues on campus the anecdote that we were talking to a new partner of ours, Harvard University, and they were actually looking at new ideas and innovations. And we were talking about this program and highlighting this particular program. And so their response was far and away one of the most innovative and exciting programs they've heard about. So I have to thank you on campus, all of our colleagues, and thank the students for leading the way to some new innovations in programming, as we as an organization partner with those universities around the world. And I'll go to the next slide and just share what some of our employers have said regarding how work has evolved over the past few years. Definitely have mentioned that virtual is here to stay, and it is a reality for these companies. It's because they're all global, seeing geographically dispersed workforce and having a diverse and global set of employees, clients, and customers as well. And more, we're hearing from employers because it matters to them, but also because it matters to their customers and clients, and yes, future employees, that how they work is as important as what they do, meaning that they incorporate sustainability into the work and really look carefully at diversity, inclusion, equity, and belonging. And I have to share this from one of our Australian employers who talked about it's no longer a career ladder, but more about this obstacle course. You don't get a chance to start in one place and continue on for all of your career, but be ready to keep learning. And as we look forward to the next slide, we'll talk about those things that employers have actually mentioned are important. Dr. Moreno did mention those employability skills, and those are definitely highlighted here. And very similar to what you'll see as students gaining from a global virtual internship or a global internship, navigating ambiguity, working with teams and individually, managing time and projects and time zones, and having this demonstrated ability to deliver, as well as experience with remote and hybrid work. Go a little bit further on our next slide, which just captures some of our own competence model we've created as GCC through multi-year research based on what we've heard from employers around the world and what we've seen students gain as well. I share this for a few reasons. Those 5 different areas are areas that as a team-based project, you have shown and been able to deliver. So for all the students, be thinking about how you'll articulate your experience and how these different competencies will help you throughout, not only the experience itself, but also how it fits into your future education and career. And then finally, just a huge congratulations and a thank you for being part of this program or considering this program in the future. That's not just from our organization, but from employers. And as I mentioned, those universities and those in our industry and field of global education and of career development that will be following you along this path as well too. So thank you and congratulations.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kate, for presenting, and to Dr. Moreno and Russell and Zed. All right, so without further ado, and we're actually pretty much on time. This is amazing. I would like to introduce some of our students. And so these are not all of our students. Over the past, we've now run the program 2 semesters. So we started it last spring and we had a cohort this summer. And we have our newest cohort just starting. They should start their internships this or next week. They're meeting with their employers, but I know some of them are on the call today. So I just want to take a moment to congratulate all of our students who are here today or those who aren't here. And as I put in the chat, thank you for, it's just inspiring to see the courage that it took, especially in an uncertain time with COVID. Some of our students were students who had planned to go abroad, maybe got the Gilman Scholarship to go abroad. And then, of course, the pandemic happened and that put their plans on hold. And I say hold because I know some of them are thinking about going abroad in person in the future. But in the meantime, they didn't let it stop them. They took this opportunity to do something new, something a little different, and that took courage and initiative and creativity on their part. And so I just want to take this moment to congratulate you all of our students for their work, for your work during this time. And with that, today we do have a few different students who are going to present about their experiences during the Global Virtual Internship. We have Katrina, who will be starting off. She interned virtually last spring with an app company called Friendmo in Italy. We'll have Andriana, Lauren, and Harley, who finished interning this past summer with Kids Know Best in the UK. And then we'll have Nikki and Lewis. And their other teammate couldn't be here today, Nick, but they interned virtually with Biosur Foundation in Costa Rica last spring. So without further ado, I'm going to pass the mic over to Katrina. And I have some slides here for Katrina. So I'll go ahead and move on to her slides. And Katrina, if you'd like to unmute yourself, and then I can go ahead and spotlight you as well.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Stephanie. Hello, everyone. My name is Katrina Salas, and I'm really excited to share with you guys my experience in the Global Virtual Internship Program during the spring of 2021. Next slide, please. So just a little introduction on myself. So I'm a Skyline College alumni. I attended Skyline for around 5 years, actually. 2 of those years were in the middle college program, so in high school, and then 3 years post high school. I graduated with 2 associates, one in business administration and one in economics. I then transferred to San Francisco State University to get my bachelor's in business administration with a finance concentration. My graduation is set for spring of 2022, so next semester. Yeah. Next slide. So my motivation for joining the program is pretty simple, and I broke it down into 4 of the major reasons. Firstly, it was a unique experience. You can intern with a small company located abroad remotely, so from your own home. You're passing international barriers from your own home, allowing you to gain a wide range of intercultural skills. It was also a challenge for me. So it was an experience that was going out of my comfort zone. I really wasn't sure what to expect. It was also a way for me to gain career-related experience. There were so many options for placements. For me specifically, I was looking at anything related to business, finance, or accounting. Lastly, it was also a way for me to explore professional interests. So when working what type of work will I like, won't I like, and how might my goals change throughout this internship. Next slide, please. So here's all the information on my spring 2021 placement. So the company I worked for was called Frenmo and was based in Florence, Italy. The product was an iPhone and Android compatible application that basically reminds you to do good for people in the form of virtual tasks. My advisors were Angela and Aziz, who are both founders of the app. And my role was to be a product management and marketing intern. So just to briefly explain product management in case you don't know what it is, it's essentially the following of a product through the product lifecycle. So from product development, planning, forecasting to the product launch and marketing. For me, with such a short term with the company, my role in product management was majorly focused on the product's development and tasks to support that. Next slide. So I just want to show you guys a brief look into some of the assignments I did that I found the most interesting. So in this assignment, I created a spreadsheet to compare Frenmo's competitors. These competitors were generally in the personal CRM space. So I analyzed these apps quantitatively and qualitatively. I looked at download and ratings data, as well as looked at their marketing messages as seen on their social media. I then took that data to make suggestions on ways we can incorporate what I learned through this analysis to the Frenmo app. Next slide. So for this assignment, I conducted app quality control. I took note of what my advisors wanted fixed or changed in the app, as well as do my own testing to see if anything wasn't working as intended. I then sent that info to the developer team. I would take notes of all these issues or changes in a spreadsheet, and I would mark their status. I was basically a status checker and middleman between the founders and the dev team. Next slide, please. I also helped create a user feedback survey for people who were using the app. It was important to get consumer feedback to see what wasn't working or was working with the app and its execution. Next slide. I also researched ways to potentially gamify the app, basically making the app more engaging. I utilized a book sent to me by my advisor as well as other research. And I did blur that research just for privacy purposes. Next slide, please. During the last month of my internship, my advisors expressed interest in keeping me on after the internship ended, and I accepted. So I was working as a paid part-time employee for them, which was stipend based. I was able to work on 3 of their businesses, Frenmo, which was a startup, Pingmo, which was a startup formed shortly after Frenmo, and Career Protocol, which was one of my advisors' longstanding MBA consulting business. So I had control over business initiatives I wanted to take on to further their businesses. And in the end, I'm really glad I did this internship since for the most, I developed a very strong relationship with my advisors who can advocate for me as I move forward in my career. Next slide, please. So I developed and honed many skills, just a few are listed. I worked on research, app quality control, and qualitative data analysis. For soft skills, I worked on leadership, management, self-advocation, and perseverance. For me, my greatest skill takeaways were the soft skills since I came into this internship unsure of my own abilities, and I left with a newfound confidence in myself. Next slide, please. Through this internship, I both prepared for the workforce and became more of a global citizen than I was before. So I improved on my communication skills, worked on taking initiative, and worked through feedback from both of my advisors. I actually credit this internship as to why I did so well in my next summer internship. The challenges I faced during this internship helped me become a more efficient and resilient worker in the end. I also had a global perspective shift. So working with a global company may require changes in communication, understanding of differences in business operations, and shifts in work ethic, but it really all depends on where you intern. Next slide, please. And just a big thank you to everyone for listening, and thanks especially to Stephanie, Lavinia, and this SMCCD Study Abroad team for making this experience happen. Thank you, everyone.
I'm going to unmute myself so I can clap. because that was amazing. Thank you, Katrina, so much for sharing your experience and your projects. It's really neat to see all the work you did, and all the hard work you put in as well and got out of it. And congratulations on the return offer. That's really amazing. Okay, so with that, and we will have time at the end, we're going to have a Q&A session after. So of course you can put comments in, put questions in the chat, but we will have a live Q&A session at the end. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our next group of students. We have Andriana, Harley, and Lauren. So I will go ahead and let Andriana, Harley, and Lauren, and I should mention, they're not their whole team. They were a team of 5. Not everyone can make it today, so we're thankful that Andriana, Harley, and Lauren could join us today. So without further ado, I will let Andriana, Harley, and Lauren unmute themselves, and I will pin your screens, and feel free to say next slide when you would like me to move on.
All right. Hi everyone, my name is Lauren Hong, and right now it kind of looks like Andriana is not here yet, but she's having like technical difficulties in joining, but I'll just kind of start. So I am a student at College of San Mateo, and I am currently majoring in accounting. I chose to do this internship over the summer because I was super interested in just like kind of what it had to offer. I really liked the aspect that I could still do an internship and kind of get that study abroad aspect where I can work with another country. And yeah, I'll pass it on to Harley to introduce herself.
Hi everyone. Let me turn on my video, sorry. My name is Harley Padron. My major is business management and I go to Skyline College. Sorry, I was like having like side stuff, so I was kind of like off somewhere else, but I kind of like have the same reason as like my other peers, and that joining this internship, we basically wanted to expand our knowledge when it comes to like businesses and other cultures and other parts of the world. And it was like really great to have partnered up with the UK because I've never been exposed to, that part of the world in terms of like Europe, since I've mainly been working with businesses here in the United States. So it was great to like get professional experience in that aspect.
All right, and just to give you guys,
oh yeah,
oh, you
okay.
go,
I was
go.
about to say next slide. Basically our overview of our internship was basically we were placed with Kids Know Best, which is a full service creative agency. So they basically work to advertise and bring kids' attention to products of other companies. Specifically, they're working with toys right now, which is big with kids, but the projects that we were given for our team were business analyses of COVID and the market opportunities in the US, since they wanted to expand into here since they're based in UK. So this like first project here is our post-COVID return to the office analysis, where since they're mainly fully remote right now, they wanted to get back into office, since at the time of presenting this presentation to Kids Know Best, COVID was pretty much getting better, which was like kind of before the Delta virus. So they were planning on going back fully in office. Well, not fully, but we did suggest going, hybrid, which is half remote and half in person. Lauren, did you want to add?
Yeah, you can go to the next slide. In here, this is just kind of like context of what we did. And our first project wasn't really related to a lot of like my major, like accounting and financing, nor was it really related to what they did as a business. So this first project definitely, I didn't expect to really have to like put together a COVID return to office analysis. However, it was a really good experience to see what like today, what people need in their accommodations to keep working. Yeah, and then next slide. And so we just kind of put together, like Harley mentioned, like what we thought their best approach to go back to the office. And like I said, it wasn't really related exactly to what they did with their line of work of like advertising and marketing per se, but it did help us understand what their employees needed and also just get to like know them and our supervisor as well. And then next slide, please. And then like Harley mentioned, our second project was more about US market expansion. And what we did as a group, we all individually researched a bunch of markets that we thought that they could expand their business into. And it was, sorry, 1 second.
That's okay. I just saw too that Andriana just joined. I'm not sure if you're, let me pin her as well. But I wanted to pop in and because I saw Andriana pop up since your third team member is here. I just wanted to see, Andriana, did you want to say a quick hello and introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. Hi, so I'm Andriana. At CSM, I majored in business admin, and I just was really thankful for this experience over the summer and to work with Kids Know Best.
Great, thank you. So I'll let you, sorry for the interruption. Lauren, Harley, and Andriana, I'll let you take it away from here with the description of your second project that you worked on during your internship.
Okay, yeah, no problem. And as I was saying, yeah, everyone in our group just basically did our own research for specific market segments, and then we got back to our company to let them know. And that was just kind of like the scope of our project. And then overall, though, I just felt that in definitely going into the internship, I didn't really have like a lot of like awareness, and it was my first internship experience, so I didn't feel very well just informed and ready. But our supervisor was super kind, and she always like clarified our just like our misunderstandings and just when we needed to like get a better sense of direction. And so I felt that I was able to take away a stronger sense of advocacy and speak up for myself, as well as collaborate with my teammates, because we all were able to hold each other accountable, which was, it was hard at first, but then we were able to do that. So that's what I have to say.
Great, thank you. And did you want me to go to these next slides about your second project?
Oh yeah, sorry. That was also like more context of like what we did in terms of the second project. And this, yeah.
Just to expand on, so for the second project, we were asked to research different companies that Kids Know Best can expand into and different industries that they can kind of work with, since they were primarily just working with kids and in the toy market.
Great. So it sounds like you all got, you know, two very different projects out of this internship, you know, from just a place where a lot of companies were in that moment in time of planning to go back to work. And I think, you know, that expanded all industries and just having to use those analytical skills and research skills of what is the best approach moving forward. And then also looking at market expansion. So with that, I just have a couple follow-up questions for you, and then we'll introduce our third group. But what, Lauren, thank you for saying some of the, the skills you felt you developed in this internship, especially as it was your very first internship. Andriana and Harley, if you could share as well, what are some career or personal skills that you felt you reinforced or you developed in this internship that went beyond the classroom?
Personally, for me, I kind of wanted to second what Lauren said about communication. That was something that definitely I wanted to like touch on and really like emphasize to other students here, is that communication is really like one of the things that you should really like prioritize when you're working with a team, especially when you're working also like abroad with other businesses where you have time zone differences, because between like us and the UK, when it's like the end of the day, it's like 8 a.m. for us. So like they were super tired at the very end. So like with us giving like an hour presentation, you have to really be like mindful of that. But also, like work through Slack and stuff, sometimes they're not going to, reply immediately. So they'll reply in the morning if you text them at like 6 p.m. or like something like that. So it's just like a lot of being like mindful of other people, but also when you're with a team, you have to update each other also, because it really makes, your projects a lot smoother instead of being very, I guess, like rugged in a way, or like rough, because for me, it really made me feel like we were like a team instead, and working together instead of feeling separate from them and like working on our own things. But, we were like together and not all over the place, basically.
Yeah, definitely. I've heard a lot about teamwork, and as Dr. Moreno mentioned, gaining the skills of self-advocacy. We heard Katrina mention that as well. And communication. I know a lot of interns have talked about just how important it was to communicate and to ask questions. And I think that's been a running theme as well. Andriana, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I would just like to add, I think overall, throughout the internship, I was able to just grow, like improve my own like professional development. And in addition, like I also agree with the communication, as my other team members have said. So I would say, like, I know with a team, you really have to know like when to like step up if things need to be, or just to check in with others. And I think like as a whole, like our group definitely did that. I know like we would always reach out to one another and just make sure we're all on the same page. I really appreciate that. And I think I'd want to take that into other groups, other team projects. And I guess with going off of like with communication too, I do think that it's very crucial, but it was even more crucial with the time zone difference. So I definitely think that will improve if you do a global internship.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Lauren, Harley, and Adriana. I just want to take a moment to give them a round of applause for joining us today and presenting. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your experience and your beautiful slides. All right. And again, we'll have Q&A after, but we do have one more presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. And then if Nikki and Luis, if you would like to unmute yourself, and then I will go ahead and pin you. Let's see here. Okay.
That's the sound of the rainforest. If you guys can hear that. Thank you for having us here today to describe our internship experience in the rainforest, virtually, of course. Next slide, please. Our internship group was comprised of 3 interns. Nick, who is not here today, couldn't be with us, but his major is social anthropology. Myself, Nikki, I'm an intern in graphic design, and I actually graduated from College of CSM this past May. Woohoo, raised the roof, pretty exciting. Thank you for that clap and for the celebration. And then Lewis, I will turn it over to him to introduce himself.
Okay, first of all, thank you for inviting me to this Zoom meeting. So a little bit of me. Well, my name is Luis Kirkalan. I graduated last year with a triple major in economics, business management, and accounting at CSM. Next year, I'll transfer to UC Berkeley. Well, during this global virtual internship, I worked at Biosphere Foundation as an accountant assistant. I was in charge of creating a bookkeeping spreadsheet that could record and create automatic reports of all the transactions made in this foundation, as well as working in the budget for the current year. And in addition to this, I had the opportunity to work in the most remarkable project of this internship, which was the webinar for the Air Day with Nikki and Nick. Okay, next slide. Okay, so as you know, because of the pandemic, we couldn't travel to Costa Rica and we had to do our internship from home. So at some point, the webinar project was challenging because we didn't realize how hard it would be to communicate with Jim, who is the director of the foundation. So he lives in a remote area in the rainforest in Costa Rica, as you can see. So sometimes there was not like internet or even light. However, we could handle this with Nick and Nikki, like using different methods of communication, like using WhatsApp as a main resource of communication. Basically, self-motivate ourselves to generate advances in the project that we could report to Jim when it was possible. Next slide.
So we wanted to give you just a little bit about Biosphere. It is a nonprofit organization, and they have several projects that they run, and those are underneath the header, that they do to conserve the biodiversity in the Osa Peninsula in Costa Rica. And if you may not know this, but it's one of the most intensely biodiverse places on Earth, and that's established by National Geographic. The foundation itself is run by Jim, as Lewis mentioned, who is a biologist, but it's really a group of concerned environmentalists, biologists, museologists who've come together to protect this part of the rainforest and encourage other individuals to join in, visit, enjoy it, but also to respect that we have this part of nature and we need to preserve it. Next slide, please. So some of these pictures are what you may find in the Osa Peninsula. And as Lewis mentioned, the webinar that was our major project, what you're seeing here are certain slides from that could, yes, it is a slide. Great eye, Dr. Moreno. What you're seeing here are slides that we pulled from our webinar. And I mentioned previously that I'm a graphic design, well, I just graduated, but I went to Biosphere to provide graphic design services for them. This is a slide deck that I created and that we used during our 2-hour webinar, or was it 3-hour, Lewis? And we had various speakers. Actually, we had a famous speaker from England. We had speakers also from the States. We had speakers from Costa Rica. Our global audience was, they were French speaking, Spanish speaking, and English speaking. And it was a huge undertaking that none of us knew was going to happen from the beginning, but we quickly rallied together. And I think, to borrow a term that Kate introduced us to, we managed ambiguity, or we went ahead and attacked that situation, and we basically accomplished it. But some other things that I did for the as part of my assignment was create promotional materials, as well as web graphic design for social media. And you've seen some of those elements within the presentation. Next slide, please. So we want to keep it brief because we know we're on a time schedule. And I wanted to highlight some of my top skills learned during this internship. Adapting to change. I thought I was really good at adapting to change, but then I realized I work in corporate America and change happens over months, if not years. And then even in school, you have a whole semester, but an internship, you got like 90 days. It's different when it's talking about change. You really have to be at a snap, be ready to change gears. And you have to have the right attitude about it. And you have to be able to depend on your colleagues, your peers, which brings me to the second skill, the fast friendships. I really take my time getting to know people, kind of like, feeling them out, letting them get to know me. But when you're in that pressure situation where you have to deliver, you just have to trust that whoever takes the assignment can do it. And if not, well, you help. And you constantly ask if they need help, or you let them know if you need help. Because there are a lot of aspects to putting on this webinar that the three of us were unaware of. But Google was our friend, and YouTube was also a friend, and as well as each other. So we came together quite quickly and formed a tight bond in the process. My next skill, I'm going to double dip and say it helped prepare me for the 21st century workforce, WhatsApp. Using that for business. So not the desktop version, just on the phone, and learning how to stay organized and keep on top of our communications at all times of day. The previous group mentioned the time zone difference between England and the US. So we didn't have that kind of issue because Costa Rica is just an hour ahead, I believe. But like Lewis said, sometimes we were out of contact with our director because of lack of electricity or internet. So we had to troubleshoot amongst ourselves. And WhatsApp was like the quickest way we could do that. And then as part of being culturally conscious and improving my role as a global citizen, I really understood my privilege as an English speaker, and the global business that I work in, English is the main language. But for some of our attendees at the webinar, that was not the case. We really needed to be cognizant of the French speakers and the Spanish speakers, because the webinar was mainly in English, and that's where Lewis was our rock star and handled that tech to help us have captions where we could, and then he stepped in and provided the translations where we didn't have it. So fantastic experience, and I didn't know that any of this would happen going into it. Next slide.
Okay. Thank you, Nikki. So, there are many skills that I learned and improved during this internship. However, the ones that come to my mind are these four. So first, it will be creativity. Like, since the foundation is relatively new, we had to generate new ideas to improve the marketing, social media, and finance records. So we all contribute with different ideas and collaborate with each other to create different content, such as flyers, videos, images that we need for the webinar, as well as the spreadsheets would make the work easier. The other skill would be organization. Well, organization was key in this webinar. It was important Nikki created a really good organized spreadsheet in which we record the advances in each meeting, the task that we had to do like in a certain period of time. So I think that was really important for us to achieve that goal in that limited time. So a fun memory of that spreadsheet is that I had another internship with in a big accounting firm, which is called PwC, and I had to do like a project, and then I used that spreadsheet like to lead my group, and we end up being selected to represent California in a national contest, like in the whole offices of California. My group to it. It was pretty cool, and that spreadsheet was really useful. So another point would be being resourceful. So there was a lot of stuff that we thought we knew, like technological, like Zoom meetings and creating a webinar. We thought it was very easy, but then when you do it, there are so many like steps, little steps that you have to take, and like contacting one person, like getting their biography, and or kind of like a small task that we had to do. And the good thing is that we help each other to like keep the well going. Nobody stay there and like just do nothing. We all were looking for something, doing something, looking for something to do, looking the way to do it. Like even if we didn't know it at that point, like we will look in YouTube, like look for tutorials, that kind of thing, in order to do this project. Finally, interpersonal communication. I think it was well, everyone was very collaborative in this project. Well, as I mentioned, we will help like each other really quick if something happened. Um, I think we break the ice really quick, like in like as a friends, like we had like a limited time, and we didn't like spend time like meeting each other. Maybe like during a couple days, like we started running and just doing the stuff and like meeting each other in the way, and it was pretty good because like we create a relationship with with the interns and also with the director of the project, which until now we still keep communicating with him, like saying, hey, um, well, just just talking to each other. So well, overall, my recommendation for next interns would be that every experience counts and is valuable for a future job. So being able to expose yourself to new challenges and find solutions will make you grow up as professionally and also as a person. Well, if intern, do not limit yourself to be in a comfort zone. Share your ideas, experiment different concepts, learn from other people, and accept other people's point of view, and just be yourself. Thank you.
Thank you both so much for your presentation. And I have to commend when I looked at these slides the first time, my mind was blown each time I changed the slide, like with the origami bird flying away. Really, really beautiful job. Nikki, your graphic design skills are highlighted beautifully here. So thank you both so much, Luis and Nikki, for presenting. Thank you to all of our students for presenting and all of our students who are here today. I want to now open it up for questions and answers. And our president, Dr. Melissa Moreno, has to step off now, but I just want to thank you so much for coming today. We really enjoyed having you. and we hope to see you in person sometime soon. Thank you. Okay, so with that, I wanted to actually bring in Lavinia a little more here. Zed introduced Lavinia, but as he said, she has been really essential in this program as the career counselor and the faculty for the class that goes with this program. And so Lavinia and I will be moderating the Q&A. But Lavinia, I just wanted to bring you in here now if you wanted to just make a quick note about how this connects with the Skyline College mission. One second, I think.
Okay, can you hear me now? Stephanie, can you hear me?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, thank you. No, I just wanted to also applaud each of the students that presented. And in addition to the ones that presented, those students that were not able to be here today, but that did participate. You know, when I see them one-on-one and I interact with them as a counselor to a student, you get to know them on various levels. But to hear them speak today in a larger presentation, I'm just really very proud. And to me, this is the most important aspect of this program, is that it takes students outside of the walls, so to speak, as I said in one of my chat notes, the boundaries of the campus, and it puts them in real life, which in essence is going to be something that they will be part of in their near future as they move forward. You know, I like to tell students that in this experience, you are living locally, but you're learning globally. And it's a wonderful way to take what you have learned in the past as a college student and what you are currently learning as an emerging adult. Because for the majority of our students, this is an opportunity that comes their way when they are just about sure that this is what they'd like to embark upon for their career. And this allows them to solidify that knowledge. And so for me, I've been involved in cooperative education experiences for many decades. This takes it to the next level. And I'm so pleased when Kate shared that, well, even Harvard asked about us. So, you know, when you're doing something that is innovative and that it has the possibilities for students to just go beyond their comfort level and to take the skills that will eventually someday stand them in good stead when they are going to be leaders themselves. So I just can't say enough good things. Of course, that's why we're part of the program. If there's any student out there, or even one of my own colleagues that would like to have more information or clarification about the program, I know that many times when I talk to students about it, they'll say, what? You're actually going global and virtual? That's so weird. And it is when you don't know what it all entails. But when you're involved in it, you actually can see that communication is so important. You don't rely on someone being right next to you and assuming that they've picked up on your nonverbal communication. You got to be clear, and you got to be direct, and you have to be professional. So those are all lifelong skills. And that's why I'm so happy to be part of this program. And, you know, that's not to say that it's easy. I think it's important for students to recognize that there are times when you feel, oh my gosh, you know, the old imposter syndrome comes in. Or you may feel, oh, this is crazy. I don't understand how to approach this person. We have a little workshop on etiquette at times that what we may think as Americans is perfectly fine may be insensitive to another culture. And all of those things truly make up, I think, a perfect explanation that we do transform students to become global citizens. And so we do live, I think, our mission where we transform them and we prepare them for the world that they will be facing within a matter of, I think, a summer or a semester. You can truly refine skills that took you 18, 20, in some cases, maybe even a little bit more to learn. So that's how I see we shine.
Thank you. Thank you, Lavinia. So with that, now I want to open up to some Q&A. At the end of the presentation, we'll, as Zed mentioned, we'll talk about what the future brings, and we'll also do a big shout out and congratulations to all of our students. But I want to make sure we have time to let our audience, everyone who's here, ask some questions. So if you would like to ask questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, or you can also raise your hand, and then we'll let you unmute yourself and ask live if you prefer. Yes, I see Russell's comment. Yes, we're very appreciative of our study abroad partners, including Global Career Center, who's been great. And we worked with Kate and her team before when we were doing in-person internships. Before we went virtual, you know, a lot of the study abroad community had to kind of pivot as well and make more virtual opportunities, as the whole world did. So thank you, Kate and GCC and your team, for being with us through this all. And I wanted to mention too, as Lavinia said, we had a few students present today, but we've had over 50, I think 53 students participate since we started running this program virtually. And so not all of them presented today, but we want to, you know, just recognize all of the students who are taking this chance and taking that initiative. And we just really want to congratulate them for their courage and initiative. All right, great. I see some comments. Okay, so any questions from the audience? All right, so I have a question from Carly. She asks, how strict were your schedules? I'm sure it varies depending on the company, but were there certain hours assigned, or did you have more free reign to complete your tasks and projects? So do one of our students who are here, one of the interns, or even if there's an intern who didn't present today, who's here in the audience, if you wanted to share as well, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, I can answer that. So for me and my internship, it was a mix of both. So some of the assignments I had kind of had quick turnover. So if, for example, when I mentioned working on app quality control, some of those changes or recommendations needed to be turned over within a day or two, depending on when the product was to be launched. So for those specific projects, I did have I guess sort of like a limited time to complete them. But overall, there was no certain hours assigned to me. It was on a weekly basis, somewhat project based. So at the beginning of the week for me, I was assigned a project or an assignment, and then it was expected to be completed either by Wednesday, by Friday, or by the next week. And that was my internship, at least.
If I can add something to that too, I think what's really important about what Katrina is saying is that as you go through your internship, you will learn ways in which you can ask questions, because many times we assume that we understand an assignment or a directive, and it isn't until we get started with it that we may not understand all the details. And I know that Katrina throughout her internship did have questions that at times even doubted certain capabilities, but in working through how to ask a question, how to be more clear about the expectations, many times we tend to exaggerate the aspects of our jobs that we don't understand and forget to acknowledge the aspects that we really are quite talented at. And I think Katrina made that full arc throughout her time at the internship, where she eventually did so well. And what Katrina did not share with the rest of the group, and that Stephanie and I know, is that she came across not only as a competent person that they wanted to hire, but one of their best ever interns. And I know that you don't want to say that because it wouldn't sound conceited, but I can say it. I'm like a proud mom, right? You did so well. And I think part of that comes from self-management, and not to put the cart before the horse and to say, I can't do this, but to pause, reflect, and gather yourself. And we're there to help you. I'm there, Stephanie's there, there's Kate, there's her supervisors. We all work in conjunction to help students. We don't throw you to the wolves. We get in the arena with you. But it's important to recognize that we're there as helpers to students. You are primarily a student who is learning about the world of work. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Thank you. Thank you, Katrina. Thank you, Lavinia. Matthew also shared he did an internship this last summer with a company in Canada, a team project. And he said that his schedule was flexible. He worked with a company in Canada, so the time zone wasn't a big issue. They did have meetings periodically, and their team worked together, so they had scheduled times for that. So yeah, for the most part, it is a lot of asynchronous working, and I think that's true of a lot of remote work, but especially when you're working with a company that's in a different time zone. But even just remote work in general, right? Because no one wants to be on a screen 24/7. And so you're doing a lot of project-based work, a lot of work on your own. And so that does take self-management and time management, which is, one of the skills, as we saw, that a lot of employers are looking for now, is to be able to self-manage and, meet those deadlines, and then meet and communicate when you do have those meetings live. Okay. Do we have any other questions for either our team or our students here, or Global Career Center? We have Kate here still.
Hi, my name is Thiago. I would like to thank Zaid for the opportunity and for bringing together this beautiful team with the joint with the students. I have the opportunity to work with Zaid before, I think, was just 2017. And I see the expansion of this project and how improve students' experience through the internships. And definitely, you guys mentioned about bring points where you get employable skills, technical skills, and professionalism, which are very important skills to have. I'm looking to develop those skills, and definitely this is a great way to get students and get students together with this global experience. Most likely, my question would be, how do you see global virtual internship impact students' life? And what would be the biggest positive impact in our future? As you guys mentioned that you guys were going to talk a little bit more about the future and what holds for us. And yes, thank you for having me.
Great, thank you. So yeah, I will talk a little bit about some of the upcoming programs, but I think that's a great great question for students. Thank you, Thiago.
Yes.
Thank you. So do any of our students want to answer that, who participated? What do you see as kind of the greatest impact this program had for you?
To answer or provide a response to that. I am probably like not like a lot of the students, but I already have a full-time job, and I'm basically kind of mid-career, and I have a degree in engineering. So this internship gave me an opportunity just to explore another side of my life, another creative outlet, and really take a deep dive into it in a safe environment. Sometimes we refer to that as playing in a sandbox, where you can go there, you can make mistakes, you can learn, you can have someone help teach you and coach you and guide you beyond the classroom setting, because that's a very controlled environment, right? Your teacher has an assignment, these parameters that you have to meet, and you know what it takes to get whatever grade that there is, right? An A, B, C, or D. But in this environment, it just allows you to be flexible. It allows you to stretch yourself and to see just how far your passion and your desire and your love for this item can take you, and give you an idea of should I pursue it even more, or what should I pursue? Because I don't know about you, but there's all kinds of opportunities with graphic design. This gave me a way to explore and push in certain areas to see what I liked, what resonated with me, what I wanted to stay away from. So I think it's a multitude of ways it could impact your life. And the reason I started out by saying I have a career already is that you can still learn from it. It's something you can still expand, you can still grow. And so even if you don't have this baggage that I have, it should be even more expansive for you.
Great. Thank you so much, Nikki. Beautifully put. Yeah, and I love what you said about, learning and stretching yourself in like a supportive environment. Whether you're just finishing college or in college for the first time, or whether you have a degree and are mid-career and you want to explore something new. That's what internships are about. Okay, great. Well, I want to go ahead then, and because we're almost out of time, I'm going to share my screen again and just share with everyone kind of what we have coming up next. And then I'm happy to stay on and answer questions. I do want to respect our time for our students and our guests. But I'm happy to stay on and answer questions past 4:30. So with that, let me share my screen again. Oh, well, first of all, just one more congratulations to all of our cohorts. So our spring cohort, our summer cohort, and our current fall cohort, who they are literally just starting this and next week. So big round of applause, congratulations to all of them for their initiative, courage, creativity, flexibility, and adaptability, which we heard a lot about, and your hard work. It's very apparent here for all of us today, and we just want to give you a big congratulations for everything. So with that, so the future for study abroad, I know we do have colleagues on here today as well, and there's been a common question we get is like, okay, what's happening with study abroad? Because of the pandemic, obviously our in-person programs were interrupted. So first of all, we plan to offer our global virtual programs continuously each semester in summer. So the applications are actually open now for the spring 2022 program. And the priority deadline to apply for that is Thursday, October 7th, which if you apply by the priority deadline, you'll be considered for the scholarship, which can cover the full program costs, because there is a small program fee for this program. But if you apply by the priority deadline, you will be considered for that scholarship to cover all those fees. So I always encourage students, please apply by the priority deadline. And the link is here for that. And then the final application deadline, if you miss the priority deadline, is Thursday, October 21st. And those internships for spring, they start in February. So they run February, March, April. All right. And then we've had a lot of questions about what about in-person programs. So we have some tentative, and of course, everything depends on the pandemic, but we do have some programs we are tentatively planning to offer. And these are actually programs that were planned to, they were planning to run for summer 2020 and then were canceled or postponed because of the pandemic. So we are hoping to finally be able to run these programs for summer 2022. And so a tentative program we have is to Costa Rica with for next summer, summer 2022, with Skyline College Communication Studies professor Danielle Powell. And this would be about a 2.5-week short-term program. And then we also have a tentative program to Barcelona, Spain for summer 2022 with Cañada College professor, Spanish professor Monica Malamud. And this would be a Spanish class, and it's a 4-week program in the summer. And then we're tentatively planning to offer in-person global internships. We don't have all those locations planned yet, but that would be a variety of different countries, likely, possibly Japan, England, maybe Prague, Canada. Again, the locations do depend on COVID and how COVID is in the country. But we're hoping to relaunch these in summer. We ran in-person global internships in the summers of 2018 and 2019. We had a group of students ready to go for summer 2020. Then, of course, they weren't able to go, but we're hoping to relaunch those, at least in some locations this summer. And these would be 2-month internships in person in another country. And then finally, we're hoping to relaunch our semester abroad programs for the fall 2022. And this is our full semester abroad, where you go for 3 months abroad and you take a full load of classes. It's with the Northern California Study Abroad Consortium. And the plan is to offer it in London for the fall 2022. So next fall. Okay, and then finally, there are some scholarship opportunities. So if you are interested in a global virtual internship program, you should apply by that priority deadline, Thursday, October 7th. And that is for scholarship up to cover all of the program fees. And then also there is a Gilman Scholarship. So the Gilman Scholarship is a scholarship through the U.S. Department of State for up to $5,000 for in-person or virtual global programs. And we've had many students receive the Gilman Scholarship. The next deadline for the Gilman Scholarship application is Tuesday, October 5th. So coming up, we are here to help you if you want to apply for the Gilman Scholarship. I'm actually hosting an info session next week on Wednesday, September 22nd at 5 p.m. So if you want to register for that info session about the Gilman Scholarship, you can visit our website at smccccd.edu/studyabroad/how-to-pay. And I'll drop that in the chat for everyone in a minute. Okay, and that's it. Here's our contact info. So if you want to follow us on Instagram, email us. And then also, if you go to this last bottom link, smccd.edu/go-abroad, that will actually take you to a place where you can book your own appointment. And if you do that, you'll book an appointment directly with me or with Zed. So that's a great way to get in touch with us if you have specific questions. I know sometimes students have in-depth questions and that are easier to have in a one-on-one conversation than in a whole group setting. So feel free to use this link, schedule an appointment. We can do advising sessions with you. And hopefully we'll see you all either virtually or hopefully in person study abroad in not too long. Okay, so we are right at time. That's pretty amazing.